What are these sad printouts?
They're for a proposal I plan on making to the family.
And what kind of proposal is this, Mr. Rose?
Are the police auctioning off crime scene vehicles?
No, these are only examples for the proposal. I think it's time we invest in a car.
I don't really see myself driving any of these.
Now, these are just examples.
Yeah, I would rather drive a scooter. And we all know how I feel about scooters, those stupid helmets.
All right, let's forget the printouts, all right? I just think we could use a car. Everyone has a car. Roland has a car. Bob has 3 cars. Stevie has a car. I want a car.
Does this site have boats?
Okay, here's what I put together.
Was that a spreadsheet?
Yes, it is. And if you just let me finish the pitch the way I planned it, things will be a lot more clear.
Okay, well, I'm gonna need the car on Friday night.
Absolutely not.
Mean that I would get it Saturday.
We don't even have the car yet.
Okay, we're just trying to work within your schedule.
This is not your best pitch, darling.
I haven't even started the pitch, Moira. Okay, you know what? I'm buying a car. End of story.
Where are you going?
Here?
Cast of Schitt's Creek, thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having us.
And the creators, we have and the creators here. Sorry, not just the cast.
It's a 2-in-1 package.
Got everything right here, all of Schitt's Creek. Guys, so you're moving into season 3. Where did you want to go with the characters at this point? How do you feel like you're stretching them? We talked in the green room, you're stretching the sweaters, but what else are you stretching with them?
I think at this point, you know, 3 seasons in, it was about exploring a little bit of the backstory of all of these characters. I think first season we saw them move to this town and it was all about, you know, the loss of their old life, and second season was sort of ingratiating them into the town a little bit, and season 3 I think has allowed us the time and the space to really delve a little deeper into why everyone is the way they are.
And they're also just in the town now, and you can kind of just start throwing adventures at them almost.
Exactly. So it's I think when it comes to characters, it's the richest season we've had because we really sort of get to examine the craziness that is this family. You know.
Oh, Catherine, one thing that you've always been incredible at is a person acting badly. You portray somebody else acting badly.
It is acting, too, right?
And you get to do some of that in this season as well. You get to do a wonderful audition tape. Where does that come from for you? Because I feel like it's a staple of your career that you're just so good at acting like someone who is desperate to perform, but is just not very good at it. I mean, you're amazing at performing, don't get me wrong. I hope the question is understood.
I know you were intending to say something nice. It's okay. I guess I'm hoping that if I get it out of my system through a character, then I won't be that way in real life. That I can, you know, me on my worst day, I can, you know, I know those feelings, I can tap into those awful thoughts. But if I get them out through a character, then maybe I won't have to be that way in life.
It doesn't necessarily take a bad actor to act bad.
No.
That's the point.
No.
Yes.
Oh, wait. Oh, thank you.
I think
why are you saying that?
Based off of your guys' career, it takes a great actor to be able to sort of act badly and very believable.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
No, it's hard to. it is hard to act bad without just being bad.
Yeah. How do you do it? How do you prepare yourself for it?
Apparently, I have it in me. So I just let it out.
You know,
Actually, if you really try, but you have maybe bad material to start with. You know, in the case of the audition, my song was really scary and silly, and you know. But if you do it with conviction, the pathetic part of it will come across. I think the harder you try. Whereas if you try to sing badly or act badly, it'll just be sad.
it's actually the most fun, though, isn't it? Doing things badly. Kind of playing characters that are not the sharpest pencils in the drawer. And this goes back to our old SCTV show, you know, years ago, when the most fun kind of was playing characters that were really not the sharpest pencils, or characters that did things badly. It's the most fun to play something like that.
If they're delusional, especially. Yeah. You know.
They think they're the sharpest tools,
yeah.
but they're the dullest. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Stupid and cocky. You can't lose.
Which is your 4 characters for the most.
Essentially,
nutshell,
yes.
yeah.
That's it. You nailed it.
And they're like kind of. I mean, what's always been great about them is they kind of condescend to this world around them, which is always kind of almost a little ahead of them at every step.
Yeah, I think when we started out making the show, it was a concerted effort to make sure that the town wasn't what we were sort of jabbing at. It was actually the family in relation to the town, and that the town actually, by comparison, had a lot more sort of conviction and.
Yeah, the townspeople know how to do things. The
Yeah.
family knew how to do nothing, basically,
Yeah.
except spend money.
They knew how to look
great and just boss people around, and then eventually that stops working.
Can we talk about where, I mean, your character wears wonderful bespoke suits, but can we talk about the rest of the outfits that you guys pick? Where do they come
Can
from?
we ever? Well, Dan plays a big hand in the costuming, along with the costume designer, Deborah Hansen, who's amazing. And Catherine and I do hours and hours of fittings before we start shooting, like hours and hours.
And I've never enjoyed it more.
And, you know, I'll come out of the room and Dan will be like, just send me back in. I'll come out again.
That makes me sound crazy. No, I mean, I think the mandate from a creative standpoint from the very beginning was that the wardrobe on this show is able to tell a story that we don't have to write. Like you're the visual sort of cue of, oh, we're constantly reminded of who these people are and where they came from, is there. So for me, the wardrobe was one of the most integral sort of building blocks of this family, because not only are you able to tell a story just through the way that people decide to get dressed in the morning, but it also, in terms of the narrative, really helped us in that regard. But yeah, I mean, we work on a very tight budget, so a lot of it's like eBaying and finding things in thrift stores.
What were your original inspirations for the wardrobe?
Well, we had a conversation. Catherine and I had a conversation, and she had sort of sent us some, some people to look to who were sort of fashion plate, socialite, slightly left of center personalities. And then, we took that and said, okay, well, how can we make that TV friendly, and found sort of that happy balance. And then I think with your character, I just scrolled through like Coachella pictures.
Yeah, that sounded what I thought.
Like,
Sounds
basically any girl in Los Angeles with a budget, will look to that.
Yeah.
And there's a great scene, I think it's in the episode that we just saw a clip for, where Catherine dresses in what she thinks is like a homeless woman or like a blue-collar woman. You're making fun of her, and she essentially says, "I'm dressed like you." And there's a wide shot, and you're wearing the exact same outfit.
Drop crotch pants, big baggy hoodie.
The backstory was that she had wandered into my closet and thought, well, I'll throw this on, it'll work.
Well, there's nothing I have to play a poor person.
I will say that the funny thing about that is she's talking about like, catering to a type of, used car salesman type of thing, saying, they have to sympathize with us. Meanwhile, the actual pants that she was wearing are these like 100% cashmere Rick Owens.
They're like angel
jogging
wings. It's
pants
amazing.
that I think retailed for like $1,200 or something. The whole thing was like insane, but it was a really fun episode to sort of strategize.
Now, you two, as you said, you back to your SCTV days, you've worked together now for quite a long time.
10 years.
84 years.
14.
Is it easy, when you guys get on set and are working together, is it just, are you essentially like family at this point?
Well, it's I wanted to say every day is like a new adventure, which it is, absolutely is. But yeah, there's we've been working together on and off for quite a while, and it's I think we have a very identical kind of working process. We both really try to get, laughs through our characters, and we take the work very seriously. We approach everything as actors would approach a comedy role. It's not so much trying to be funny, but trying to make the character funny. And we've been kind of doing this for quite a while. It's the same process that we did in the films that we did with Chris Guest. Those improvised movies where it all comes down to character.
Well, that's what's so interesting is that I feel like you have two of the greatest on-camera improvisers, or just improvisers, that I feel like we've ever had. But the show feels incredibly tight and scripted the whole time. Do you at any point while shooting Schitt's Creek, do you allow that much improv, or are you guys fairly focused on the written jokes?
He does not allow any improv on the show. As much as we fight him to just loosen up a little bit and try and improvise, he says, no, you'll do it my way.
A lot of
Or
screaming.
the
you
highway,
don't do it.
usually says.
I think what's great about the show is that it's incredibly collaborative, and I think we I guess as the showrunner of the show, I think our writers are so respectful of the choices that all of our actors make that we try to, in a way, accommodate the scripts with the impulses of the actors, and a lot of times you can't get into these people's heads 100%, and I think that's where sort of this magic comes in our show, is that everyone has managed to input or sort of
So we always shoot
what am
to
I saying?
script. We always shoot to script. But then if someone has, a line that they've come up with or a suggestion to make, then we always have the kind of creative space to make that suggestion, whether or not it's accepted or
It
not
is
is
loose
another
and
story.
fun.
But
It is
it's
loose and
very-
fun on
yeah,
the
it's-
set, but
it's
we
a-
have a great script to begin with, so it's not like you need to save the material at all. It's just sometimes the material will inspire something that you didn't think of before you got there, and we'll try it.
That's what I was going to say. What she said.
And I would say, with the exception of your hats, your character seems like she has blended in with the town, I think, the best out of the family members.
Yeah, I think that Alexis is the most adaptable of the family, given her past life experiences of, being held hostage on David Geffen's yacht and being driven around Mumbai by a 7-year-old. So she's lived a lot of life, and she's been in lots of different experiences where she needed to adapt. So I think she is the most willing to find the silver lining in any given situation, kidnapping or not.
Was that the intention with her character from the beginning, or have you kind of just found as you've progressed throughout the seasons that her character is kind of the most adaptable to everybody?
I think when we set out, the character on paper in the pilot episode is sort of almost a caricature of what you would imagine sort of a socialite to be, and what Annie has done with it is taken it so much deeper. But the intention was to always sort of show that this girl has so much more to offer than what she had even thought of herself. And we've been very fortunate to have now 3 seasons to continue to sort of peel back the layers and push her a little push her forward in terms of discovering her own independence, realizing that she doesn't need a guy to make her happy. All of these things that, we started out with are slowly being sort of chipped away. And I think that for us has been a really nice thing to see in terms of the evolution of the character of Alexis.
Outside of your costumes, you guys have a really great way of changing your looks kind of just visually, not just the sort of broad costumes, but I think your makeup as well. And I think you as well do you wear makeup on the set? I mean, not just your standard on-camera makeup, but sometimes when I watch it, I'm like, it looks like, because you're here now and you look fairly normal on the show, you're like, you look fairly bronzed and like...
Right. I think, it's a combination, I think, of, we shoot in the summertime, so there is a level of, I enjoy being out in the sun, and I think our...
Oh, no, you don't wear it, I'm sorry.
No, but yeah, as part of it, I think, is just people covering up the fact that I usually get about 3 hours sleep a night while we shoot. So it's a combination of being tired and the sun that makes David look like a Simpsons character, I guess.
And he blushes a lot, which tends to show through on camera.
And then there's the mascara and lipstick.
There's a full, it's a 2-hour procedure.
Prosthetics, everything.
So you guys have a team of writers, obviously, and you're running the show. When you guys go into each season, do each of you have pitches or ideas where you want to take the character that you all kind of like get together and discuss and then bring to the writers?
Yes, I do, but he listens to none of them. I can't get one idea through on the show. No, I think what then generally what is the process? I think Dan and the room of really talented writers that we have kind of quickly formulate what the season is going to look like, and again, because they just have an acute sense of who the actors are and who the characters are, things formulate very quickly and just kind of, fit like a really good pair of shoes.
Yeah, I mean,
They don't pinch.
We sort of go in and say, let us figure out what this could look like, and then there is the process after which, notes come in, and I think people sort of adjust depending on their own impulses, and so by the time we actually get to, the floor where we act, the script has come a long way. And I think that's because it goes through multiple processes, from all of our actors. Everyone has the freedom to sort of, if you can one-up what we're doing, great. Because we don't do like punch-ups or anything. I think in our case, the punch-ups really come from the actors and being live and, the spontaneity of all of it.
Catherine, I have a question for you because you guys mentioned the Christopher Guest films that you were a part of. One of my favorites was For Your Consideration, which I think you gave an unbelievable performance in, not just a comedic performance, but I mean the pathology of that character was unbelievable. And we're sort of nearing the Oscars right now, and there's several Oscar campaigns.
Have I been nominated?
But that was such a strange situation with that movie because it was about a woman who thought she might get an Oscar, kind of campaigning for it. And then when it came out, there was all this talk that you could win an Oscar for
And
it.
should have been nominated.
I agree with
100.
Dirty. It's
I agree
dirty
with
to
that
have
100%.
anyone say it to you. Yeah, I made at least one of those lists where, they ask a bunch of different writers or critics, who do you predict? And, oh, here's who should. You just read it once, it's like, oh, yeah, why not? So, and luckily, because I've been involved in the movie and we're all playing these pathetic people who start buying into that, you go, no, don't let anyone talk to you about. My husband was nominated 3 times. He's a production designer. I worked with him on Beetlejuice. That's where I met him, and he did Batman Returns and Lost Boys and something else.
Those are incredibly
I mean,
well-designed
yeah,
movies that you just...
he's nominated for
Shabby.
Birdcage. And
pro.
What else is he nominated? Anyway, he did a bunch of movies. But he got nominated 3 times, and every time he got, by the 3rd time he tried not to get sucked into it. But as Harry Shearer would say, well, you book a limo and you put yourself in a tuxedo, you might as well win. So you put that effort into it. But everyone tells you, because no one wants to say, oh, it's great you were nominated. No, you're not going to win. Nobody wants to say that to their friends. So everybody around you said, yeah, no, don't get sucked into it. I can't believe I'm even talking about that.
Well, that's what I was so
pathetic.
fascinated about that time is having come from playing a kind of pathetic version of someone getting sucked into it and then being talked about getting sucked into it, how difficult.
It's a cruel game. It's a cruel. They have to have 5 people there, so they have 4 losers. They have to have 4 losers. And so they suck those 4 people into not winning.
And I feel like now it's even bigger than it was even 5 years ago. Now there's you have the Hollywood Reporter roundtables, you have 1,000 different events that are
15
honoring
award
people.
shows that are potentially predicting the final award show.
90 awards, and everyone inevitably wins one of the awards, so they all sort of equal out, and then inevitably one person is left off, and then you're thinking but everyone said it was, but I talked to.
Said.
It's tough. It's a weird thing now.
Every actor that you ask about the campaign is essentially it's grueling. I'm blessed, but it's grueling. It's a nightmare.
They work hard for that nomination.
Losing.
Yeah.
Let's open it up to the audience for some questions. Who has questions? Right here.
Hello. After 3 seasons, is there anything you guys learned about each other you guys didn't know about?
That's a good one.
Anything that we didn't know about each other?
Those are the kind of deep questions I should be asking. Thank you.
Wow, that's a good question. Personally, I don't think there's anything.
You knew your son was this talented?
Yes. I knew that from when he was in diapers. I knew that. He just had a way of
How
doing
did you
things
feel
in a
about
very
that?
talented fashion. No, I would have to say no. I think that do I know every single thing there is to know about Annie Murphy? No. Yeah. I think we kind of know each other well enough.
We've all had some good hangs. I started out not knowing anybody, so I've learned a lot about everyone. And we have fun together, and we go out for dinner, and we, do things like this, and so it's a wonderful opportunity to get to know each other.
And I think just the process of doing a character season after season and being given that great opportunity to do that is such a unique experience to have with people, and to come back year after year and have these amazing sort of 3-month stints where you get back into this life and this sort of
Summer camp,
world,
which is
and
what it is.
I don't know if it's necessarily uncovering things about one another, but I do think it's the whole process has sort of strengthened all the ties. It's a very loving set.
Not enough time to get sick of each other as well. 3 months is very good.
3 months in and then 9 months out, and it's good. Everything balances.
Could you do more than 3 months working alongside your father?
Absolutely not. No. No, we work 13 months. So once we wrap production, then my dad and I go into post, and then you start developing, then in marketing and all of that sort of stuff. So we have our hands in sort of every single aspect. It's intense.
Next question.
Hey, so I was wondering what it's like working with Chris Elliott, and are there any other guests, like comedians, you'd want on the show?
He's ridiculously funny. Eugene, in particular, cannot get through a scene.
Giggles
With
like a
Chris without
schoolboy.
really loud.
Cannot
Chris,
handle it.
Yeah, he's got my number on the show. He's constantly making me laugh on set.
And intentionally, and trying to make you break.
Oh, and
during
trying to
takes
make
all-
me
all
laugh.
the
No,
time.
he does it intentionally, of course, and he actually succeeds because I'm a sucker for Chris Elliott on set. And I've been a huge fan of Chris's going all the way back to when he started on the David Letterman show, 20 whatever it was in the early 80s, when he was the guy that lived under the stairs. That's the first time we became aware of who Chris Elliott was. And his dad, Bob Elliott, was, of course, one of the great comedic icons of the comedy team, Bob and Ray. Two very funny guys that came out around the 1950s, 1960s, 1970s. Really funny. If you get a chance to YouTube these guys, Bob and Ray. And Bob is Chris's dad. But anyway, very, very, very funny guy.
We have hours of footage of my dad just laughing and laughing and laughing.
But
and
laughing to the point of tears and like
crying and
like
laughing
rubbing
and
his
crying.
stomach because he has cramps and
And you can hear the director just slowly going like, cut, cut, cut. Okay, you know what? Let's just give him 5.
I was doing a scene with Chris once, and it got so bad with the laughing that the director would come on the set and say, "Okay, guys, look, you've got to do this. We can't be doing this all day, okay?"
That's so surprising to me, though, that would be the case for you, considering you guys come from the Christopher Guest movies, which shot on film, you're improvising. I'd imagine you don't have that much time to really break on those movies, and if you do, it's kind of really frustrating for the director because, again, the first 3 were shot on film, right?
Yeah, and they're improvised, so you're also sabotaging the scene if you laugh.
Exactly.
You're killing it, because that moment will never happen. I mean, that dialogue is not to be repeated. So
And again,
that's
it's
it.
even
Well,
harder not to break
also-
'cause it's all a surprise because it's all improvised.
But also, it was the director who's really making everybody laugh the most. I mean, that's the problem with that film. But it was the very first film we did. It was kind of bad because we didn't know any better, so we would laugh.
And we were in a
lot.
group all the time. We traveled. We were in every scene together. It was the gang, the actors
yeah.
in the Guffman.
And then we learned, over time that the more you break up in a scene, the more you're sabotaging the movie because it is improvised and you can't recapture moments the second time you do try to do the same thing twice.
But you don't have that feeling with Chris.
No, because he's so intentional about it. You can't help but laugh because he's doing it. He's doing it on purpose right in front of the camera.
And there's
Trying to
nowhere
make
that
you
Chris
laugh.
won't go with a joke. Like he will push a joke to the farthest, darkest places. Meanwhile, being one of the loveliest, kindest.
Do you have an example of that?
Like not that
Putting
I
you
can
on the
talk
spot,
about.
but
Not
you
that I
can
talk
wear an
about.
open set. You can talk about anything here.
If I said toilet humor, you might think, haha, like little kids' toilet humor. It goes way darker.
I do actually think on this week's episode that I believe that there's a golf lesson that involves Roland, Chris's character, teaching Johnny how to golf. So
Intimately.
there's a physical sort of element of Chris sort of reaching around and And I think
Gently
that
guiding.
there's hours of outtakes of that scene.
Yes, he gets in kind of behind me, trying to show me how to hold a club properly. That's one of the times I think I laughed the hardest in the 3 seasons, was trying to get through that scene.
I think we have time for one more question right here.
Do you each have a favorite scene that you've shot so far throughout the series?
Interesting.
Well,
I have a favorite scene of everyone else. I don't know if I have one of myself.
I think if now we're on the subject of giggling, okay. So we shoot outside in June in the country, and there are many, many flying insects because it's June and we're outside. And so this guy, unfortunately, has a very intense phobia of anything that flies, be it a butterfly, a beautiful butterfly, or a dragonfly, or June bugs, which happen to populate
If there's
area.
a paper-thin wing involved, I have a
Anything
hard
goes.
time. Right.
Yeah.
But June bugs, are lethal because they're big bugs that flap their wings and they're loud and they
Well, and they can't see.
they come
also.
right for your face.
Yeah, and so we were shooting at night. We were shooting your birthday party.
Outside a barn.
Outside a barn, and there we have this big light set up, which the June bugs are all attracted to, and we're trying to get through the scene. And every single time the camera would be on Dan, just like.
Well, they were everywhere, and you're trying to not like
The profanity
twitch
that
and
came
react.
out of Dan's
And at
mouth
one
that
point,
night.
finally, one like hit me in the back of the head and then fell down. I was wearing a shirt
and then was trapped
jacket,
between his back and
and
the.
it was trapped in
It's
the.
like that in your ear. I don't know if you've
He
been around
ran.
June bugs. It really is.
He ran
I
so
swore
far.
more times.
You've never
in, like,
heard language.
2-minute span than I've ever sworn in my entire life.
was magic.
Also have that on camera. So
Magical.
That's your favorite scene?
My favorite.
I love these two when they go to the ATM machine. That's one of my that comes to mind. As I don't know if you saw it, but I guess have either of you ever worked an ATM machine before this? Your character?
I have.
You had
Yes.
experience. It's very sad and very funny.
And one of the sweetest, I think, scenes for me was it was in the final show of the 2nd season where where we have the party. The kids are having a party, and Moira and I and Roland and Jocelyn crash the party, and it's a very emotional episode actually. And we go into a kind of a dance. Everybody starts dancing, and we start dancing as a family. It's a very emotional scene, but it was you felt the emotion on the floor while we were shooting it, and of course every time I watch it now I get, I still get swept up in the emotion of it. And as a scene, I thought that was like a really great thing to be part of.
Do you get swept up in the emotion of, is kind of a personal question, of watching your son work, or like work a writer's room or run a set at all? Because I'd imagine that'd be kind of hard sometimes to sort of watch that and not just get overwhelmed with pride.
Oh, absolutely.
Or disappointment. Or just tremendous amounts of disappointment.
No.
Bothering I'm gonna have to clean up his mess. He's just
He's
pissing off the
embarrassing
crew.
me so much.
I know. Well, I have to keep his confidence up, so everything he does is great. No, he's been, of course. I'm just is incredibly proud with how Dan has run the show, and the scripts and the shows are just coming off. Each season seems to be better than the last season. And in front of the camera, I just think that I honestly haven't seen a character like David Rose on television before. It's such a unique, funny, insanely funny character. And yet you feel for this character so much.
Catherine and I we get such a kick out of watching Eugene watch Dan behind the, so Eugene will be behind the monitor and Dan will be acting. And it's like, we compare it to like a stage mom at a dance show. Eugene's like,
He mouths his words with him.
and like doing all the same facial expressions as Dan. Like,
Not when he's in the scene with us.
No,
That's
no.
when he's watching on the monitor.
On the sideline.
Daniel will be in a scene with someone else, and we watch.
Do you see him doing this?
I do not see that, no, and I'm sort of glad that I don't, because that would be a weird thing to know is happening. While
You
you're
will let
trying
me know if I actually start doing it in the scene that
Yeah.
I'm working with.
we got you.
Guys, I have to let you go. I love the show so much. It's back for season 3. When does it premiere on Pop?
Wednesdays at 8, and our first 2 seasons are now up on Netflix, and that's an exciting place to go as well.
Binge the first 2 seasons and tune in Wednesday night at 8 on Pop for Schitt's Creek. Guys, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you.
Everybody.